Okay, today I'm going to show you how to do some simple addition and subtraction on an abacus. I did not have a recorder to show myself actually doing it, so I just Googled an online abacus and this was available, so I'm just going to show you how to do it with my screen. A little backstory about the abacus is that it was actually created in Russia a very, very long time ago. Um, the reason it was created was for just basic mathematics. You know, they needed a way to do their selling and to help with marketing and things along those lines. And back then, they just pretty much guessed or they used their hands or things like that. So this is pretty much the first calculator. So you can kind of see how far we've gotten with our tools in mathematics. So right now, we have either the Japanese abacus or the Chinese abacus. So the major difference you can tell right here is that the Chinese abacus has two beads on top and the Japanese has one bead on top. Also notice that the Japanese has four beads on the bottom and the Chinese has five beads on the bottom. Now that's what you want to actually notice because there are other sorts of Chinese abacus that have just one bead on the top also, but the Chinese abacus always will have five beads on the bottom and the Japanese will always just have four beads on the bottom. So you can refer to the Chinese abacus as like this is a 2/5, this Japanese abacus is a 1/4. Other sorts of Chinese abacus would also be called a 1/5 if they only had one bead on the top. It's just different sorts of models. But for today, we are going to use the Chinese abacus, the 2/5 model. Okay, so here on the side, oh, let's see if we can, nope, okay, well, whatever. Here on the side, I typed up a few problems that we're going to do on the abacus. So it's going to start off pretty simple, and then I can tell that we've gotten a pretty big jump right here to our second problem, but honestly, you just applied the same basic skills, so do not worry about it. Okay, so the way that you start addition with an abacus is you're going to start with your top number, and you're going to set that up on your abacus. So notice that we're going to start over here on the right. You do not start on the left, but you do start on the right. So the first row of beads is the ones, the second is the tens, the third is the hundreds, fourth the thousands, and so on, all the way down. A lot of the abaci that I have seen go all the way to the trillions. I'm not really sure what they needed to count in trillions back at that point, but that's a pretty big one. I have one myself and it only goes to about 100,000 and I think that's plenty. But anyway, so if we were to set up 32, you just go to the tens column right here and you click 3 of them. So that's 30. And then you go to the ones column and you click 2 of them. Okay, so we are reading 32. You can tell right here, right there. All right, so the cool thing about an abacus is that usually in the American standard, we add from the right to the left. So if we were to do that 32 plus 16, we would add the 2 and the 6, then the 3 and the 1. Well, on an abacus, you start on the other side. You start on the very left. So first we're going to add a 1 to the tens place, and then we're going to add 6 to the ones place. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. Notice we have ran out of all of our beads. Well, here's the thing. These top beads actually represent fives, okay? So what we can do is we can drop a 5 bead down just to show you. If we dropped two 5 beads down, that would be a 10 bead, which is equivalent to one of these beads. But anyway, we only need one 5 bead. So since we dropped a 5 bead down, we can drop all of these because it's equivalent. If you're taking a 5 bead from the top, you have to drop all the 5 beads on the bottom. Okay, so anyway, so we had 2, and then we added 3, so now we're going to add 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it says right here we have 48, and sure enough, you can check in your calculator. The answer is 48. Okay, so now we are going to try a harder one. I'm going to go ahead and type the answer over here just so you can check and make sure. Also, you know, sometimes you mess up and you have to restart your columns. All right, so you could, on this online example, you could just click the top of the beads to make them drop down, or say you wanted to do it quicker than that, you could just press the reset button and it would drop them all down at one time. Alright, so we're going to go on to our bigger addition problem. 64,121 plus 17,916. So, first we need to find the 10,000s place. So, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Okay, so we're going to add 6 onto here. Now naturally I would just put 1 up here and then drop the 5 down because that's 6. But we can count it through since this is the very first time. We'll just go ahead and count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, you used up your 5. You have to drop a 5. 6. Okay, you see how I did that? It's not very hard. You just have to use some simple counting. Now you have 4, 1, 2, and 1. And double check up here to make sure you have the correct number, and you do. Okay, so now let's add. There's only one 10,000, so there we go. Okay, there's 7 1,000, so 1. All right, we ran out of beads, so you have to drop a 5, drop all of the 1s. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We ran out again, and 7. All right, so notice we've used both of our 5 beads above the 1,000 spot. So this would be 5,000 and this would be 10,000. This is equivalent to just adding another bead in the 10,000 spot, all right? That's the correct way to do it. So if you notice up here, you have 2 of your 5 beads down, and you've finished with your result and you aren't quite getting the right number, maybe check to see if you haven't carried it over like you're supposed to, okay? Okay, moving on to the 100 spots. 900. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now watch as I take those up and add a 1,000 spot, alright? Okay, on to the 10s. Only 1 10 and then 6 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add a 5 because you ran out of beads. 5, 6. Okay, do we get the right answer? 82,037. Perfect, we got it. Instead of clicking all the beads, I'm just going to go ahead and set the reset button. Alright, so now we're going to do some subtraction. It is not that different, except that you have to realize you're borrowing from this opposite side now, okay? And I will explain what I mean when I get to it. First, let's set up our board. 481. Alright, notice that I just went ahead and did it. I didn't really count it through. Once you use an abacus more, you'll just get used to that also. Okay, so you're going to subtract 274. Just like in the other one, we are going to start on the left, okay? So there's 4, we subtract 2. 1, 2. Now you're taking them down. Before we were clicking up and adding them. Now you're clicking on them and taking them down. Okay, so that's a key point. Now we're going to subtract 7. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, we have nothing left to click. But we have a 5 up here. Okay, so we can bump up all of our 5s. Granted, now that we have given us all of these 5s, or all of these 1s, we have to get rid of our top 5. Okay, so if you have to give yourself 5, you have to get rid of 5. If you need to add 5, you have to take 5 down, okay? So just remember that. Some people get stopped up and they forget to drop the 5 bead on the top or add the 5 bead on the top depending on what you're doing. Just remember that part, okay? Alright, anyway. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we've subtracted 7. Alright, so now all we have left is our 1 spot. Notice we only have 1 in the 1 spot. How are we supposed to take away 4? Well, this is very simple. First, you want to start by subtracting what you already have. So you're going to go ahead and subtract the 1. 1. So now we only have 3 left to subtract. Remember previously when we were doing addition, if we had 2 of the 5 beads, it was equivalent to 1 of the next beads up, so you could add 1 like that. Well, now if we need some beads, you can just drop the next one above it, so one of these is equivalent to 2 1s, right? So a 10 block is equivalent to 2 5 blocks. So by dropping a 10, you can add yourself 2 5s. So if I needed some 10s, I could drop 100 and add 2 50s, but I don't need that. So I'm not going to mess it up. Anyway, so now we have 10 more to subtract from. So first we're going to start by adding 5. Remember, when we give ourselves 5, we have to subtract from the 5 beads at the top. Remember, we already subtracted 1, so all we have to do is 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right. A lot of people forget when they're already midway through subtracting that, like what number they were on. Say if they had to subtract 9 and they were already subtracted 3, so they only have 6 more. Well, they forget, and then you forget what you're subtracting, and then you have to restart, and it's just a whole process. So remember, if you have already subtracted, how much you have left to do. Okay, so now we're going to start by doing a bigger one. So 18,000. First, we need to add 1 in the 10,000 spot. Now we need to add 8 in the thousands spot. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it up. And then 963, and check and make sure we're correct. Yes, we are. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the answer on this. You can go back in the video. I'm pretty sure that's what we got. Okay, anyway. So let's do this big one. Where do we start? We start on the left. Do not forget, it is very confusing if you try and start on the right. I can't do it. I mean, if you manage to figure it out, kudos, but you're supposed to start on the left. Much simpler. Okay, you're not subtracting anything from the 10,000 spot. So we're going to go straight to the 1,000 spot. 1, 2, 3. Add 5, subtract your 5. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, we ran out of beads. So what do? Oh, well look, we have this 10,000 right here. That's equivalent to 2 of the 5 beads for the 1,000 spot. Great. So let's go ahead and add 5, and I believe all we had left to do was just subtract 1. Okay. Now, we're not subtracting anything from the hundreds, so we can go ahead and leave that alone. On to the tens, we're subtracting 5. So 1, we ran out of those. 2, 3, 4, 5. And now all we have left is the 1. See, this is not that bad. 1, 2, 3. We need to borrow. Do not forget that you already subtracted 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so our answer is 9,905. All right, see, that's not that hard. Some key things to remember. Go over the borrowing. That's kind of something that trips people up. I know that I had to review it quite a few times before I could actually master it, and I do sort of forget when it's been a while. Also, just don't forget if you're in the middle of a number while subtracting. Sometimes I forget, did I already subtract 3? Did I already subtract 5? And the next thing you know, you have to reset the whole thing and go again, okay? So just a few things to remember. Go ahead and try it on your own if you want. I only did the addition and subtraction. There's also multiplication and division if you're really into using an abacus. Some students are able to use an abacus even quicker than others can use a calculator. So back in the day, this was the prime time way of doing calculations, and it's really what got us where we are today. So thank you so much for listening in, and I hope that I could help explain stuff for you. Bye!